Well, hey there. I've got a question for you. Do you run the red light or do you risk being late? Welcome to Daphne V TV. And today we're talking about choices. Look, I get it. Choices are not always fun. Like, do I have the molten lava or do I have the creme brulee? Those are the kind of choices I like to make. Yet even with those choices, it's, so how much do I work out to pay for that or burn it off? Still, everything in life is about choices. And, I get it. Let me scoot over here because I feel like my head's in the banner. I don't know. Y'all work with me. Be patient. Everything in life is a choice. And what I want to talk to you today are about ways to live with your choices, ways perhaps to make easier choices, and ways to really understand that having choices is a blessing. Again, welcome to Daphne V TV, the show for chain breakers and wave makers. I'm glad you're here. In fact, I want to know where you're here from. So if you'll put in the comments for me where you're watching from. Hey, Andy, great to have you with me today. Thank you for taking your time to join me. You had a choice and you chose to be here. So I appreciate you. But everybody else, let me know where you're from. And we're just going to engage and have some fun together. So in my favorite book, it talks about choices. And it says, see, I have set before you today life and good, death and evil. That's like pretty scary, monumental. And some of our choices will be that important. Others are a little less intense, right? So let's go back to my molten lava and creme brulee example, okay? Unless you're a type 1 diabetic, then anyway, I digress. When it comes to choices, I know they're not always easy. Recently, I made a choice that turned my life around 180. And in the decision-making process of that choice, I had to say, what is healthiest for me in the long run? Overall, big picture, 20 years from now, what is going to be the result of the choice I make today? And if we're going to be honest, I've kind of been making that choice for a while. And sometimes other people make our choices for us. And it makes it easier to do to make the decisions that we need to make. Hey, Wendy, glad you're here. Thanks for being here. If you've ever had to make a tough choice, just put in the comment, tough choice. And I'll know that I've got the right people here with me today. And when it comes to choices, the bigger they are, the more energy they take. Emotionally, spiritually, mentally, possibly physically, maybe even vocationally, right? Like, have you ever had to choose between one job and another job? Between one relationship and another relationship? Between buying something on sale or paying full price, right? Like, there is this item you want. For some reason, shoes comes to mind as I'm sitting here barefoot. But anyway, so there's this pair of shoes that you want, and you could pay full price for them, but really a better financial decision is to wait and hope that they go on sale. Yet when you do that, they may not have the size that you want, right? So everything in life, what I had on today, that's a choice. Everything we do, we have a choice. What time to go to bed, what time to get up, what to eat, who to hang around, what to listen to, what to watch. all the things, everything in life is a choice. And we can go weary from making choices. So the first tip I want to share with you today is have some deal breakers. Okay. So the number one tip, somebody wants to put this in the comments, is deal breakers. What are your deal breakers? Or you could say, what are your nevers? I will never XYZ. It's completely intolerable and unacceptable. I will never. Now, my mom was a dental hygienist, so she would love for me to say, I will never go to bed without flossing my teeth. But I'd be lying. However, it's high my priority, okay? So have a list of deal breakers, things that you absolutely will not compromise. You might also call them non-negotiables, okay? Because the more deal breakers or the more non-negotiables you have, the fewer decisions you have to make. Now, I'm not talking about living a rigid lifestyle to where you're actually having stress, right? So I think everybody who's watching this, either live or the replay, you would agree, have enough stress. Thank you very much. Don't need any more. So these deal breakers and these non-negotiables, guess what? Boom, boom, you have a choice, okay? You can make as many or have as few. However, I suggest you have some. Here's a non-negotiable for me. I will never leave the house naked. Okay? Just, yeah, not going to do it. I consider it a public service. And so that's a non-negotiable. I don't even have to think about that. It's not a choice. Well, I guess I could leave the house naked, but I'm not going to. Okay? It's a deal breaker. It's a non-negotiable. So some of these non-negotiables, some of these deal breakers are just kind of innate, right? We just know them. But what about these choices? Like, even like, what am I going to have for lunch? What am I going to have for dinner? What time am I going to wake up? So in addition to having non-negotiables and deal breakers, thank you, Indy, for putting that in the comments. I want to encourage you to have a plan of action, okay? And here's what I mean. So when the alarm goes off tomorrow morning, you're going to have a choice. Are you going to hit snooze? Or are you going to get up and get after it? Here's what I recommend. Make the choice that you're going to be happy with the results or the consequence later in the day. All right? So I know that when my alarm goes off tomorrow morning at 4:30 Central Standard Time, don't judge. For some, that's too early. For some, that's too late. When I get up tomorrow morning, I'm going to do XYZ workout and spend this XYZ amount of time in my devotional. That choice has already been made. So when the alarm goes off, no, hitting snooze is not an option. I've already made the choice, okay? So if you already have a plan of action, like if I didn't know that's what I was going to do, then when the alarm went off tomorrow, I could be like, oh, well, maybe I'll hit the snooze, or maybe I'll get up, or let me check YouTube. No, that's not part of the plan. That's not part of my plan of action. And one of the beauties of living in the world that we live in today is that for a large part, you get to choose your plan of action. It's up to you. What do you want to do? What is your end goal for the day, for the week, for the month, for the year, for life? What do you want to see develop? What fruits do you want to come to fruition? So as you're making your choice, think about the consequence of that choice. And if that is going to be good and bring life, then make that choice. But if it's going to represent death and or evil, don't go that way, okay? May seem kind of like a ridiculous example. However, sometimes I just think we need the simple reminder, right? Like if you've ever raised a small child, you talk about consequences, or heck, a teenager, right? they get grounded, they lose privileges, etc. So we are always dealing with choices. It's just being aware of them. And I know one of the kind of buzz phrases in today's society is decision fatigue. So if you have deal breakers, if you have a plan of action, you can minimize decision fatigue because you don't have to spend the energy on it, right? You just automatically know what's going to happen. Now, I want you to know I understand a lot of choices aren't easy. Like in my initial example, do I run the red light? Actually, I didn't use that. I used the dessert example. Let me share another example with you that I had planned on using. So you're in traffic. Everybody can relate to that. You have a decision as you approach the intersection. Do I put my pedal to the metal and risk running the red light, or do I slow down and risk running late to the meeting? You have a choice. You don't have to run the red light. Maybe you instead are late to the meeting. You always have a choice. And that choice at that moment is actually determined by a choice you made earlier in the day. Remember my alarm example, right? Maybe you choose not to make the bed in the morning because you chose to hit the snooze, and you got to make up that time somewhere so that you don't have to run the red light and you don't have to be late to the meeting. Is this making sense? If this is resonating with anybody, I don't know what I want you to put in the comments. Put, I hear you. Don't like admit to running a red light or being late. We don't want to reinforce the negative. But just let me know that this is resonating with you. And when it comes to the choices that we have, if you will find some rest, here's what I'm going to find some rest and some peace in the choice that you make. Because do you know that person who may ask you for your opinion, like, hey, I'm trying to decide between this and this. They say, well, I would go with this. And then they hem and they haw and they continually wonder, like, well, should I, shouldn't I? They're all confused and they don't know. Here's the thing, y'all. Cut down on that decision fatigue we talked about. To cut down on wasting energy, right? Because when you are in that decision process, you're using energy. Once the decision is made, oh my gosh, the burden that is relieved is incredible. You free up your mind for new options. Recently, when I made this lifestyle change, because that's really what it came down to, is I've completely changed my lifestyle. It was hard. It was possibly the hardest thing I've ever done. And so it took a lot of energy. And I found it affecting my mood, my ability to make choices and decisions, my level of patience. And once I finally said, look, sister, everyone involved deserves a decision. Make a choice. Once I committed to that, everyone else could stop guessing. So when you make a choice, you're asking yourself a favor and you're doing others a favor. And most choices in life, after they've been made, can to a degree be altered, right? Like even a tattoo. Even if you get something as permanent as a tattoo. Whoops, right, okay, there we go, right? Okay, that's not ink. Or permanent ink, that could go away. I could have that removed. I could have it turned into something else. Most choices are not fatal. Remember that. Most choices are not fatal. However, they need to be made. Because that indecision period is kind of like having a splinter, right? It's really a pain point. And having to make a choice might actually take you out of chronic pain. You may have to go through some acute pain, but ultimately it will relieve the pain because that irritant, that distraction, that perhaps toxicity will no longer be there. So I just kind of want to wrap things up today with a definition. Because if you've been with me for any period of time, you know I'm a little bit of a word nerd, and I really like to study the etymology of words, probably why I liked Latin so much. And let me see, what is this? A Toby Mac quote. Don't do some permanently stupid to a temporary problem. Yeah, for sure. So seek counsel, seek wisdom, right? Certain choices, when they are going to be life altering, they do deserve due diligence. And you want to go into prayer. You want to seek counsel. I advise not making an emotional decision. It may be something that involves your emotions, but that's not necessarily going to be an emotional decision. You can make it with a level head and a grounded spirit. But I want to remind you, excuse me, of what the word decide means. Decide comes from two words, and it means, bottom line, to cut off. So once you make your choice, stick to it. Let it play out. See what happens. Even if tomorrow morning you wake up and you hit that snooze, you just see how that affects the rest of your day. And I bet the next morning, you're not going to hit the snooze. So once you make a decision, stick to it. You may need some encouragement. You may need a friend. So share this video from Facebook. You'll find it on my YouTube channel, Daphne V TV Show. Share it with somebody. It may help them make the choice between something and something else. We always have a choice. We may not always like it. It definitely won't always be easy. But once we decide, we are then freed up. So until next time, I want you to claim the responsibility and the right that you have to make a choice. I want you to own the authorship that you have with your life. I know some of you are authors, so with your life, with your book, with your business. When you do, you can live a well-done life because you're going to break chains and you're going to make waves the moment you give yourself permission to decide.